Here I am doing the final This is Private Practice for 2020. Funnily enough, as I sat down to press the go live button, Facebook has made some changes to the way we do that. So I've spent a couple of minutes trying to work out how on earth I can go live on Facebook. What is really interesting for me right now is to reflect on the fact that the last This is Private Practice that I did was I've written myself some notes, back on the 30th of August. And here we are on the 21st of October. And it was always on my to-do list, but on the things that I could get to if I had time, if I had energy, if I wasn't going to fall asleep, or if I wasn't trying to manage nausea. So in the meantime, I've been collecting a whole heap of ideas and thoughts around what I can speak into next year and what types of things might be interesting for people. Oh, thank God, someone's watching. Thank you, Robin. I'm like, oh, I did set it up as an event. I hope people saw that. But I also get that it's almost been 2 months since I've done one of these, so people have probably forgotten. They're not used to me turning up live, but it's kind of something I wanted to do to just end it off and let you all know what's going on, and also wanted to share some really interesting insights that I've had as well. Oh, cool! People are starting to turn up. Oh, thank you, Linda. Nice to see you. Happy birthday for the other day. Oh, wow, my voice is a bit croaky. I am obviously a little bit more tired than I give myself credit for. So what's been going on since the 30th of August? Well, the last round of chemo really knocked me about. So if you're not aware of what's been going on for me, that was really rough. And then we had the great let's find a surgeon who can do the next round of surgery. And then it was let's find a hospital where said surgeon can operate. And then it was let's find the 5 medical specialists and herd all the cats so that they can all turn up to the same theatre on the same day at the same time. So that's been interesting. And I've had to go out of region to find that type of medical support because it's not available in my local community. But fortunately, I have found surgeons that I am very happy with. I've enjoyed getting to know them. They've been incredibly respectful of me, and they've really gone above and beyond. What's really interesting is that both of the surgeons involved with the surgery have what they call patient coordinators. So not a receptionist, not an admin person, but somebody solely responsible for the coordination of medical services to their patients. And I think that is a brilliant role. And having access to these people has certainly made my anxiety calm down. I've been able to get answers to questions quickly, and I felt like everybody knew what was going on and how it needed to be going on. So this surgery is a bit of a big deal. So what you may not understand is that there are many different types of breast cancer. It's not just one type of breast cancer, and that every person who has breast cancer may have a different type of chemotherapy. They may have a different dosage. They may have different chemicals. They may have it for different periods of time. And the way surgery occurs is based on the type of cancer you've had, the type of risk of recurrence that you are presented with, and basically what do you want your life to look like. So I have chosen a very aggressive treatment now so that I can look back in 10 years' time and know that I have done everything I can to reduce the risk of any cancer returning to my body. Now, we can never get that to 0%, but I got it under 10%. So I'm pretty happy about that as well. So that's why I'm choosing to do this. So if you've been following my journey, back in April, I had some minor surgery. It was day surgery. It was to take the actual cancerous lesions out of my body. And now we're mopping up. The chemo's been to mop up any cancer cells that were floating around my body, looking for somewhere to sit and grow, which is usually places we don't have a cure for yet. So, bones, brain, other parts, it's not pleasant to think about. So now I am engaging in a double mastectomy. My preference is to use the word amputation. The reason why I use the word amputation is because I work with a lot of clients who have had amputations in their life, and to me, they are heroes, and I just want to be more like them than I do anything else right now. So that language matters to me. So there's a double mastectomy, double amputation happening with an immediate DIEP reconstruction. And why I'm telling you this is because we can get a lot of chatter and a lot of things going on in our head, and I just want to give you the facts, but I don't want to labor the point too much because this is my body and it's fairly personal to me. So a DIEP reconstruction is where they use your own body tissue to help with some reconstruction. It won't be exactly the same as I am now, and there's parts of me that's kind of thankful about that, but it's pretty awesome surgery where they get to take body tissue from other parts of my body, help create new mounds, that's what they call them, and then they have to reconnect the blood supply from the original site back to where these mounds are now going to be housed. Hence why we need several medical specialists in the theatre at the same time. So you can do your own research on that. It's called a DIEP reconstruction, and I'm pretty grateful that that's available to me as well. So it's a 10-hour surgery. Yes, I will be on the table for around 10 hours, and that's happening on the 24th of October. So some of you may have heard the 20th. That was the original date, and then it was changed to the 21st. That was the date that I thought I was all geared up for, and then it got changed again, and then the venue got changed again, and that's really hard to deal with. Just letting you know that is kind of really, really hard to deal with as well. Hi, Kelsey. Lovely to see you here as well. Am I responsible for coordinating all the specialists? Robin, in the beginning I was, but then one of the surgical team took that on themselves. I discovered a surgeon who likes to be in control just as much as I do. He wanted to pick and choose the people that he had in the room, and he knew exactly who he wanted. So he took that responsibility on, and it's given me one point of contact. That wasn't until 2 days ago when they've all started talking to me. So they all have forms that they want me to fill out. Anywho, we're just not going to go there now. So hospital for a 10-hour surgery, then I'm in hospital for about a 1-week stay, and then I've got a 6 to 8 week recovery period. So I can assure you I won't be doing another one of these episodes before the middle of December. Probably won't be happening now until the end of January next year. I really want to give myself time to focus on my recovery, to make sure that I am not stressing out about things. I've worked really hard in the last 6 to 8 weeks to get the business to a point where I can walk away from it, and trust that everybody knows what they're doing. Yeah, I am still over functioning and providing a little bit too much useful information to people, but you know what, my team love me and they're just going, Jo, that's what we can do, that's how we can help you, thank you for providing this, we're just going to put it over here until we need it. So one of the things I wanted to speak into was, you may have seen a post I put up both on Instagram and here on Facebook, letting you know that a really big surprise for me in the last financial year has been how I have been able to increase the revenue of the business and significantly increase profitability. So I just want to give you some context for that, because this in my case should not necessarily, if you look at all of the barriers to that happening, it's kind of interesting. So our financial year runs from the 1st of July to the 30th of June. So this data is now 3 or 4 months old. That's okay. It's still useful data. So I want you to think back. So from about November last year, October last year, I was in the US. I was speaking at Therapy Reimagined, which was great, but I was out of the country. And it was actually while I was over there that my husband ended up being diagnosed with cancer. So I came back home to a whole wowzers, what's going on here? So the end of last year, it was about his diagnosis, his treatment, his chemotherapy, and it was fairly confronting. We were both running our businesses. We were both trying to just keep our head above water. While that was going on, we had absolutely devastating bushfires here, and I live in a bushfire prone area. So there was a week where we actually physically removed ourselves from the Blue Mountains where we live and went to the ocean just in case we lost everything. This is while he is having chemo treatment. Now, as the bushfire season let us know the ferociousness of that, we got devastating floods. So we had communities wiped out by both bushfire and floods. People who were living in tents because of bushfires then got swept away in floods. It was horrible. That was January. February, I was diagnosed. At the end of February into March, COVID started becoming a problem. So in the busiest times of income generation part of my year, the way we start trying to generate income for our businesses, then I had all of these reasons why it couldn't work. So I, reasonably sat myself down, had a good talking to myself, and went, if we can break even and make sure that everyone remains employed this year, then I want to be satisfied with that. If I have to go through this incredible time of horrible treatment in this COVID environment, I just want to make sure that my business survives. So getting the information from my accountant that you've done a little bit more than survive this year was actually really surprising. So while I've been going through treatment, I also calculated that it's been 31 weeks from when I was first diagnosed to now. And during that period of time, there have been 10 entire weeks I have been completely unable to work. And even though I have been at work on those other weeks, sometimes I've been able to do 90 minutes a day. Most times it's, half a day. I rarely work an entire day. So it's not about how much time we spend in our businesses or on our businesses that have helped create this revenue, is it? So what is it? I was asked this question on Instagram. I think it was a really good reflection because I had no intentionality around this at all. I did not intentionally come back from the US and go, how are we going to cope with my husband's diagnosis? How are we now going to cope with diagnosis plus bushfires, plus floods, plus COVID, plus your own diagnosis? There was never enough time or emotional energy to actually become intentional about it. But what I did notice upon reflection was that there were 4 things that I remember doing. One was I made a decision that no one was going to die. So I wasn't dying, my husband wasn't dying, neither of us are dying. We've both got, good outcomes here, but my business wasn't going to die. And I became really focused on that, and I knew that with every fiber of my being, there would be no death this year. Then I went, if I've got 90 minutes in a day, what is it that only I can do? And I pretty much stopped. That was the stuff that went to the top of the list, and nothing else got done. Some days I was lucky to get 2 or 3 things done. I had to delegate out everything else. I have now got new people involved in my business that I've never paid for these types of services before. But you know what? They're needed, they're necessary, and it's stuff that I don't have to do. And it was stuff that was distracting me from the strategic, big picture things that I needed to take responsibility for. So I made the decision, no one was going to die. I worked out what it was that only I could do. And some of that was delivery. A lot of that was delivery. A lot of that had to do with managing finances. Delegate out the things that I'm not necessarily needed to do or other people can do. And then where I've been working towards now, and I'm not quite there yet, but what has been a big theme for me is getting to a point where what I want to do is the same as what is it that only I can do. And I think that for me will be a journey into next year and will really help me open up and think more CEO-like around this business and around the impact we want to make, the significance we want to make, and being able to empower the people in my world who actually want to be on this journey with me. Hey, Angela, all the way from the East Coast, nothing broken, nothing lost, nothing dying. Exactly. And you know what, Angela, what's really interesting for me, because I know you and I share a very similar faith, is I made that decision and I felt like that was a real unction. But over the past 5 weeks, I have struggled with the fear of dying. There is a big fear in me that I will not wake up on the weekend. But anyway, I just put that as an aside. So making a decision, what is it that only I can do, delegating and empowering other people to do other things, and what is it that I want to do, and let's make that the only thing I can do. It really refines what you turn up to do in a day. So what are some of the things that I stopped? Well, I stopped pushing through fatigue. I will now have 2 naps a day sometimes. I don't have my social media or my emails open on my desk. I have specific times that I go to both of those things. And I have significantly reduced content production. I was producing a blog a week for my Joe Muirhead community and my Purple Co community, plus I was doing these lives, plus all the social media posting, and it was actually somebody in my community who suggested that that wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary. 10 years of content on both websites, there is enough content there. So I kept coming back to this thought. If I have 90 minutes where I know that I can function today, and you're going to get the best out of me in 90 minutes, what is it that I need to do to keep my future secure? Because this business is about my future and my husband's future. So that's my why. That's why we keep doing this. There are lots of other things that come under the sub why, but we overcomplicate everything. And as health professionals, we are awesome at that. We are primarily risk managers, so we're always looking for the risk, which always makes us a little bit anxious and a little bit at unease, because we're always worrying about what happens if I don't get a client, or what happens if they don't pay, or what happens if this, or what happens with that, or what happens with that. Okay. What happens if you've got 90 minutes to secure up 90 minutes a day, 5 days a week to secure your future? You would be amazed at the things you can get done in that time, but you'd also be amazed at the things that stop becoming important. So we overcomplicate, we get distracted, when what I've learned I've needed to do is become fierce with the protection over my time and my energy. Now, I thought I was good at that, but I now know this at a whole new level, and I know I've got more learning to do, which is why I'm giving myself permission to have the next 8 weeks off if I need it. My husband thinks I'm having a whole 8 weeks off. He is very insistent about that. I've got the if I need it caveat at the end of it. But I haven't actually worked out what do I not need it would look like. So that's another conversation he and I obviously need to have. So as we are all reeling and riling from events of 2020, regardless of where you live in the world, we've still got stuff we're dealing with. We've still got politics. We've got that in the US. We've got that here in Australia, especially if you live in Victoria. We have got businesses booming and growing. We've got other businesses that are just scraping by. We've got people scared to go outside. We've got people not wanting to wear masks. I mean, we're dealing with so much stuff. So my question as I leave you in 2020 is, what is it that only you can do? And let's get focused on that, because I can assure you that the result is going to surprise you. I think we are too scared of letting go of stuff that we don't know if it's working, or we've got some sense that it might be working. We need to get better at really focusing on the things that are working, that do work, that do produce income, that do produce that sense of fulfillment, that do allow us to keep going in the morning. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, it really does put things in perspective. Angela, I'm glad you liked that question. If I had asked that question of myself 12 months ago, I would have poo-pooed it and I would not have been ready to hear it. So if you are a little bit like me and think you know everything some of the time, yeah, you'll watch this video in a couple of weeks and you'll go, wow, I'm so glad Joe asked that question. So I am looking forward to connecting with you a little bit on social media, probably over the next month, or give me a couple of weeks so I can use my arms again. And then I am looking forward to recommencing This is Private Practice next year. I've got some ideas on what I might do a little bit differently, but I'm really looking forward to being able to connect with you all. So wishing you a fantastic rest of 2020. Can you believe that I'm actually saying that? Go be your awesome self.